What them sons of fishes up to now?
Fellas, I give you the force trolling motor. It is the most powerful, the most efficient on the water.
Yep. Most powerful. We're really in trouble now.
And it's quiet, too. You can't swim here.
What a dumb bass.
If you're Mark Healy, you don't just live on the water. You live for it. You get up, get your shades, grab a spear, grab a boat, grab a friend. Okay, take a breath. Hold it. Hold it. Here, hold this. Go, go, whoa. All right, now find something to jump on. It's probably too high. It wasn't too high. Time to get going? Time to keep going. How's that feel? And now this is living. For those who need water to breathe, Costa sunglasses.
What do you see?
Reminds me of muskies.
I love your mind.
They call it a bucket mouse because he's got a bucket mouse.
Wow.
I just want to tell you, I've been slaying the walleye lately.
That is so hot.
Ever bump the stump?
Suffix 832, the line that changes the game.
And boom, it's Friday and we are here for the 9th episode of ABT Lockdown Live. Seems like only yesterday we started doing these weekly shows, trying to get something happening while we were sitting in lockdown. And let's face it, at the time we started these shows, coronavirus cases going like this. But now we're in a pretty good place in Australia, and most places in Australia are pretty open to go fishing. I was talking to the guys from WA before. They're going to be starting tournaments in a few weeks again, local tournaments. And we're all keeping our fingers crossed, hoping that we keep that COVID to a manageable level and we can all get back to something resembling our great Australian lifestyle that we love. And for us, that includes tournament fishing. But a big thank you to everyone who's been involved with the show over the last 9 weeks. People have spent their spare time. They've come and talked to us. They've shared information, and especially to Nicole Smith sitting in the control room behind there. She is the one who is making all of these things happen. Now, I gave her a bit of a challenge tonight. We've been broadcasting this show straight on YouTube for over 2 months now. I said tonight, let's see if we can broadcast on YouTube and Facebook at the same time. So we're going to monitor both chats. We've just seen if we can do it. If we stack it, we're not going to come back on Facebook, we're going to just come back on YouTube. So if you're watching it on Facebook now, make sure you go to the ABT Tournaments page on YouTube, subscribe, hit the little bell. You will get notified when it comes through. If you're already getting notifications on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page, you would have got 2 notifications. So we're juggling 2 balls at once at the moment, so we're going to see how it goes. I'm getting a bit of a frown from the control room there.
The audio is really bad.
So it says my audio is really bad at the moment. We're going to work on that after the first thing. So we're trying to do 2 things at once. If it all stacks it, come back to YouTube and away we go. Pretty exciting week. We're going to talk to Kris Hickson a little bit later about the demise of Evinrude. Evinrude, great sponsor of ABT. They do a owner's bonus program in the Bass. Or let's make that past tense, they did. The news came out yesterday from Wisconsin, where they make them, that they're just ceasing making the Evinrude brand. Now, a lot of debate in the marketplace. You can still buy Evinrudes. They're still going to be running Evinrudes out during the year. We're going to do they're going to still honor warranties. They're still going to be able to get parts. And so if you've got an Evinrude with a 5-year warranty, you are going to be able to take advantage of that and still use it. But just they're not going to be making any new ones from now on. Interesting related news is that Mercury Marine is going to be supplying motors to the back of all BRP, which is Evinrude's parent company, boat brands. So in Australia, they're the Telwater boat brand. So boat motor trailer packages now from companies like Quintrex and Stacer, they'll be factory fitted with Mercury. So interesting player in the marketplace at the moment. Kris Hickson's going to talk to us a little bit about that later tonight. As I said, the West Australian tournaments look like they're going to crank up again in another few weeks. We will have a chat to Kim McIntyre, the Mayor of Albany, in a little while, not tonight, but in the future, about just how we're going to restart that. I assume local tournaments will start, revving up in the next month or 2. ABT tournaments, and this is the question we get asked by everyone, ABT tournaments will start when we have open borders again, because we run national series for everything, and not really fair if we just say, let's have the Australian Championships in Queensland and only Queenslanders can come. That won't happen with us. We're like a level playing field at ABT events. Plenty of prizes tonight. Make sure you put a comment where you're from. The where you're from prize tonight, it's a couple of, what do we got? We've got a Costa cap, some Costa merchandise, and I'll throw an ABT tournament jersey in there as well. So let us know who you are, where you're from. We want to see from what parts of Australia and all over the world that we are going to get your input from. So just a warning, Mike Sutcliffe, sorry, not going to send it to Singapore. It's going to be in Australia, someone who wins that prize. We are going to talk no, this is the prize. I've got it wrong. The prize for where you're from tonight, 5 AFC DVDs, and this. I pulled this out of the archives. This is the identical jersey to one that Carl Jochimson wore in his Series 2 AFC. So Ian Miller and Carl Jochimson were a team in the second series of AFC. This is the Team Savage jersey. It's not autographed by him or anything. Sure, you could probably talk him into autographing it if you wanted to, but this is a dead set collector's item. We screen printed these ourselves. They've got embroidered bits on the top. Matt and I sat there, we learned how to screen print to get these done, so starting to yellow a little bit. It'll do much better in somebody's pool room than in the storage chest at my place. So that's going to be a part of the Where Are You From prize tonight. Tonight we're going to be talking to Mark Crompton, we're going to talk to Kris Hickson. Steve Steer from Cranka's got some great tips on how to keep your crabs in tip-top condition, and a few secrets of what's coming up from Cranka. Charles West's, the Bass Electric Series only, 5 wins, 5 kills, 5 events, 500 out of 500 AOY champion. Tells us a little bit about his time in Japan. And we went out on the water with Jamie McKeown today, so ABT Lockdown Live had a field trip, and we will talk to him and see him on the water, catching fish on the Gold Coast. So a fair bit of fishing footage there tonight. But without any further ado, let's have a word from one of our sponsors and come back to you with Mark Crompton, who won this event in 2017. This weekend would be the Costa Brim Series Daiwa round at Foster, and Cromo won that last time. So in celebration of what would have been, we'll have a chat to Cromo about his win back then. So we'll come back to you after the break. We'll see you then.
Now, of course, this weekend would have been the Daiwa round of the Costa Brim Series. We would have been at Foster, and we hadn't been to Foster for years and years and years. But let me tell you, last time we went to Foster, this sneaky bugger with the $100,000 boat and a brand new wrap on it wins Australia's rack fishingist tournament. And, mate, you didn't even get one scratch on the boat, did you? That was just unheard of. What went on there?
I know. I was freaking out a bit, actually, going up there with a brand new wrap. It was pretty cool, but, that boat, that's now Brett Penprace's boat. That boat's pretty easy to control. It's a wharf, with a massive big engine on it. So it's really easy to control, especially through the racks. You can get a fair bit of wind and just doesn't blow around like other boats. So it's the same with this thing. They're pretty solid in the water. They don't push around. They've got a nice deep draw. So, not draw, but nice deep keel. So they don't push around so much. But, it was nerve-wracking a couple of times. I remember I had Sean Egan on day 2, and there was a couple of times where we were, pushing off the logs and the bits and pieces and trying to get ourselves into the pretty posies. But it was good fun. It was really good fun. We had a great time.
So what you're trying to say is if you've got a non-boater there and you have to sacrifice them to be a human fender, that's a sacrifice you're willing to make.
Yeah. Get his rod out of the equation. Mate, can you grab that pole? Can you do this? Can you do that?
Yeah. And when you come to net my fish, can you please not scratch the boat? Can you hold the boat off and net it at the same time?
There's no netting, actually. Funny story in that one. There was no netting going on. I was literally hooking fish. I flicked one that hard out of the racks. It comes skyward out of the boat. I slapped it from it going over the other side down into the cockpit of the boat. And it was probably an 800 grammer, 900 grammer. Sean's just looking at me, and I'm sitting there with brim spikes hanging out of my hand. I wasn't letting it go out over the other side, but we were reefing them out. But
if we only had the Garmins going back then, mate, if we had the Garmins going, it would have been an all-time great highlight.
Yeah, I know, it would have been. There was a couple like that, when I'm ripping them out that hard. I'd never really done too much rack fishing before. I've done a lot of, snag fishing and, you learn the scenarios, the angles and that sort of thing. But I think I spoke to Hickson going up there about what's the standard in the way of rods and that sort of stuff. And I think the Zentetsu or the Silver Wolf, you might be able to see them up the top up there. I've got a couple of those, and he said that's the go. And I think I bought a Swamp Donkey as well. What was it? The Black Label? No, it's the Gen Black.
Yep.
Swamp Donkey, and it was literally like fishing with a broom handle, and flicking rods like that around inside the racks was sort of what they were saying. This is what you do. So I went and bought a couple. I thought, how hard can it be? It wasn't that hard, So it was there you go. It was good fun. We had a really good day of learning that weekend. It was good.
Tell me about this round sponsored by Daiwa, or would have been sponsored by Daiwa, just like the Daiwa Brim Australian Open. And you guys like Kris, you're all sponsored by Daiwa, the event's sponsored by Daiwa. How much of the team Daiwa guys do they share information and get together and help each other out? Like, I know Kris sort of helps everyone out, but is it do you look after each other, the Daiwa guys?
Look, I'll be brutally honest. The amount of information that I try and get from outside, I don't. I generally don't. I don't find I get anything out of it if I try and ask for information and, you go and win a comp or something from asking for information about spots and things like that. It's empty. I don't know. I don't generally do that too much. And I think the other guys are a bit the same too. But I think we're sort of, over here in Australia, we don't get paid to do this, so it's not like you're trying to bank a check every time. You do it for the love of it, and you do it because you want to try and work it out yourself. So I think, going to the Gold Coast Grand Final, I sat down and talked to Tom a little bit about a few scenarios and different bits of river I'd never fished before, and asked him, what's it like up here? What's it like up there? Yeah, previously it's worked up there. That's where we used to go every now and then. So that sort of thing, I guess you do. But, you're going, oh, where do I go? Is it that log there or this one here? Or on this change of the tide, do I use this lure, that line? Not so much, I don't think so. But, we're all open and honest and share. But I think the amount that we ask of each other, it's pretty slim, so...
Yeah, I wouldn't give Hickson a centimetre, mate. Like, he's good enough as it is without giving him mate.
Yeah, well, maybe when I first came in through, I got in through Daiwa through Hobie. I didn't. I worked my way into Daiwa as a sponsored angler. I guess the way I see it being the right way to do it, I proved myself. I didn't go to them and go, I want a sponsorship. I'd done it through Hobie. Hobie had a good relationship with Daiwa. Filthy was supporting me with my Daiwa gear then, and I'm like, this is not really right. I sort of got to the stage where I didn't agree with Hobie doing that, and I then approached Daiwa and said, look, can we work something out so Hobie isn't paying for this? And and that's how it come about. But yeah, I guess it's one of those things, isn't it? It's circles and roundabouts.
That's it, mate. Oh, look, every sponsor you've taken on board, and we see some of them in the background there. A lot of your sponsors are ABT sponsors anyway, so it's a happy circle where you're using the gear for the guys that are sponsoring the circuit. People see you winning tournaments. It gets a roll on, and it's exactly what it should be. The guys winning the tournaments should be the ones that are getting looked after by the guys. And I suppose since we're talking about sponsorship and a little bit about Daiwa, what's your number one hint to guys that are out there? Like, I know when they're buying all your own tackle from the tackle shop, it seems like a great idea to be sponsored by someone. What's the greatest hint you can give to someone that is chasing a sponsorship? And I know this is a pretty easy question for you to answer, but give the newbies the tip that they're going to need to know to keep their sponsor happy.
I don't think you even chase one. I've said it before. I think you're better off going and doing some overtime instead of at work, instead of chasing sponsors. It looks all good and rosy, and you got stuff all over the side of the boat like this, but there's been 10 to 12 years, 15 years of relationships to get to the stage where I get this kind of support, and that kind of support doesn't come lightly. There's a hell of a lot of work that goes into me supporting them, and I don't know that some of the time it over here that it balances. Sometimes, when you look from the outside in, it always looks great, but there's a lot of work that goes on with it, and sometimes I'd rather just say to someone, look, go and do some time so that you can get to the position where you've then got something for the sponsors to, want to latch onto. I mean, I've sort of thought about this a fair bit. But we're not like America, we're not signing $10,000 checks for a sponsorship deal over here. Like you have 15 sponsors, there's 150K that you can write off for the year. I don't know if that's how it works, but people assume, but over here, I think it's just concentrate on your fishing. Like we do it for the fishing. It wouldn't bother me tomorrow if everyone turned around and said, "No, we're not sponsoring you at all." That's sweet, mate. No dramas.
No obligations.
Yeah, look, go. Not a drama. I wouldn't have to have a sticky wrap on my boat that I got to worry about scratching. It's just it always looks great from the outside in. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate the support. I really do. But do we need it? No, we don't need it. We don't need it. We'd be doing it regardless. So, yeah, the sponsors that I have are just sponsors that I know that if someone comes and asks me, should I use that, go and crap on about it and talk about what's not the truth. I just don't agree with that sort of thing. Anything that I've got that I use it because I've loved it, and like I said before, I've built the relationships because they're a good family to be with, So,
mate, let's get back to Foster and that eventual one back there. It's this time of year, May is normally when all of the fish from the system come down to the front of the system, and a rack which might have had a few local fish in it, all of a sudden can be populated by schools of big blue nose brim that have come from the rivers and the lake and all those sort of areas. Take us through the pattern that you used to win that last tournament. I seem to remember it involved Cranka crabs and nasty structure. Take us through it.
Yeah, so I filled partial amounts of my bag each day actually out on the flats.
Yeah.
And they were decent fish. I remember Mark Healy did the same. He most of his day, I think, both days revolved around the flats. The heavier fish seemed to be out on those flats. So first thing in the morning, I was going straight out there to try and bag one or two of those heavier fish for the size. I don't think the size was massive at that event, but the heavier fish were definitely out on the flat. So I did that both days, and that worked great. And then I had to sort of wait till the tide was, I think the tide was running in, but it wasn't. It was the first half of the run-in, I think. Maybe 2 hours into the run-in tide. Got it about 12 o'clock on day 1, 1 o'clock on day 2. And just got to that stage where there was just a bit of water coming up over the top of the trays, probably about maybe, I don't know, 3 inches over the top of the trays. And I was just on a good stretch where the water was, if you imagine the trays are along this way, the water was actually pushing in like that. And I was landing the crabs just on top of the tray. You couldn't see anything. It was all too turbulent. You couldn't see what was under them. But I was landing the crabs just on top of the tray, pulling them back, and then they were just sort of sinking forward and going straight in under the trays. And yeah, it was either whoop or plunk, and you felt it. And yeah, it was a really good scenario that just worked, I guess. Like, we had fun. We had a lot of fun.
I know that all of us are thinking, geez, I would not mind being down at Foster this weekend, you know, as it's cooling down, those big fish populating those racks. I know every single ABT brim fisherman knows the feeling and are thinking, oh, I could be doing that this weekend. Tell us what happened for you this weekend, mate. I heard you're going to rub some of the dust off that rig behind you.
Yeah, I'm hanging to get out on the water. I'm hanging to catch up with Rossi, my mate. We haven't, I haven't even seen anyone since Albie's been born. I've still been in lockdown, basically, you know, so... I'm going to try and get out there with Rossi and have a beer and a cigar and catch up for hopefully a good Sunday and enjoy probably the Georges River maybe. I don't know. We used to get out the Georges a bit, and with this bit of swell and rain and that sort of stuff, hopefully a few fish are pushed around back up onto the flat and can have a bit of a toy around there. I don't know. Yeah, it's not too far for us there either, so get out there and get home by 12 o'clock and
happy days, mate. Well, I think you well deserve a trip out in that big rig, mate. And although we can't all be together at Foster, at least we can be thinking about it, bending the rod, catching a brim, and just waiting till these borders open and we can get stuck back into the tournament scene, mate. How are you going on AOY points, mate? How are you going for grand final qualification?
AOY this year, I haven't even fished around, so absolutely dead zip. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how I could qualify this year.
Mate, just go win an event. You win an event, you're straight in, mate. And
I can't even get there. What, you know, I don't know. Like, you know, I'd love you to do the Open. Do the Open down here and do it as a qualifier. Why not?
Mate, we'll see what happens when borders open, mate. We've got a premier which seems to want to lock us in here for the rest of the year anyway. So as soon as Anastasia lets us out, mate, then we're going to play.
Yeah, that's it. No, I think it's been the perfect year for me to pick to have off. So it is what it is. I'll toy around with it. Got some new products coming from Daiwa that I'm pretty keen to have a play with that we can't really talk too much about. But I'm really looking forward to spending some time on the water with that stuff. So maybe next year I'll have it all keyed in and clued in and ready to go with it. But wait and see.
Well, that's all right, mate. We are ready and raring to go to teach Albie how to put up the score and blocks because he's going to be a great helper for Danielle in the score tent there, mate. And, mate, thanks for joining us for Lockdown Live. Make sure that boat is nice and polished at the end of the night, mate. And me and all my little friends here, they're all saying good night to you, mate. These little fellas, they like you.
I've got one up here. I've got my one up there. You wouldn't let me grab it and bring it up.
No, mate. Can't upstage the boss, mate. We'll catch you in the future. Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Have a good night. G'day, everyone, and have a good weekend.
Well, there you go, winner of the 2017 event, and he would have had another good shot, I reckon, at trying to win this trophy. Okay, so I'm hearing that the audio is still pretty bad there. I'm not going to speak really loud. Try knocking the volume down, Nicole, on that little button there. Cromo was great sharing his knowledge with us there, and tell you what, I still reckon there's no scratches on that boat. We're going to go to an ad now, try to fix the audio again, and come back with Kris Hickson and our next comp for tonight.
We know they're out there. And we know we need to find them. We target them for different reasons. But when the line tightens, we all feel the same. We feel alive. The water moves around us and the world feels far away. We are here. We are fishing. It is a search, not just for fish, but for all things most important. For family and friends. For tradition and tranquility. For conservation and competition. All of us find what we are looking for. Yet we continue searching. We cast, and as the lure soars, our hopes soar with it. This will be the one. They tell us insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting different results. But we are not insane. The fish are still out there, and we are fishermen. We have been since we were young, and will be until we can do no more. And then, when the ice begins to freeze within us, we will make time for one more cast.
Well, of course, it would have been the Daiwa Foster round of the Costa Brim series this weekend. And this man is dangerous on any arena in Australia, but in particular, you grew up fishing this joint, Kris Hickson. What are we missing out on this weekend? How good would a Foster played up for us?
I reckon we're missing out on a whole lot. A couple of weeks ago, I haven't fished it, but I know Babs went out there a couple of weeks ago and said it wasn't that flash. And leading up to now, it hadn't been that great. The brim was still out in the lake. There was a few on the headlands. There was a few sort of scattered around up the rivers, but they really hadn't moved down the front. And that last westerly that blew a weekend ago, and then this big sea has pretty much just concentrated them all at the bottom end of the system. And apparently they're chewing their heads off. So, and some really good fish, not just brim, but bulk amounts of tarwine down there, and really good tarwine. I know Jack, Dim and Bobo Starton were out there on the weekend and got a couple of clunking tarwine. So I think you would have found the first event that they really were going to make a difference.
Man, that's it's a real shame, isn't it? And explain to the viewers that don't know how Foster works, explain what happens with those ocean-going brim coming in, mixing with the lake fish. Like, tell us how the system fires.
So generally speaking, around that May, June period, normally it happens in May. The mullet run out in April. The brim are generally a bit behind them. The food moves out of the lake. The water cools down. The water clears up the rivers and cools down. And those brim get the urge to come downstream and spawn. And if you get that to coincide with maybe a big sea, the brim that are on the headlands and the beaches, not comfortable in the wash, a bit too big for them like we just had on the weekend, they get pushed into the system. That literally concentrates pretty much every brim in that place in the first 5 kilometres of the river or of the system. So not awesome as a tournament circumstance because there's probably a lot of boats concentrated, but the fishing would have been off tap when you found them. So it's like that, and that's pretty much the reason I know we penciled this tournament in for that time of year, because it was going to be good. I think the tide's pretty good too. The low tide building is always a good tide for Foster. So yeah, I think we're definitely missing out, but that's all right. We might go out on the weekend and have a look anyway.
Mate, that's right. Anyone in New South Wales, is it this weekend when you're encouraged to roam more broadly than your local area to fish? So if New South Welshmen want to come and have a fish at Foster, is it game on?
Yeah, 1st of June, we're officially allowed to sort of holiday and move around. So if you want to see what you could have or what could have been at Foster this weekend, I think it's the one to do it. The date, I think it starts on the 1st, whatever day that is. So you might even just make it in this weekend.
So it's the 1st is actually on the Monday. So it's the Monday's the day. I think it must be.
There you go. So
go.
We're allowed to travel as it is anyway to a certain point. So if you want to do a day trip up there, then I think you're more than entitled to. I think it'll definitely be worth it. Definitely be worth a look.
Awesome, mate. Let's backtrack a little bit and talk about how you're a big ABT supporter through the business Manning River Marine, and of course your sponsors Mercury, Daiwa, all on board as well. How's Manning River Marine done through the COVID crisis? Rumor has it it's better than expected.
My light just went out. Oh, well, you can still see me?
We can still see you, mate. Yeah, we're good.
That's all good. I had a disco in here for a minute. We've been flat out, to be honest. It's been crazy. We're probably in a really lucky industry in the marine and tackle industry that, being in New South Wales, we were allowed to still go fishing. The first couple of weeks of COVID were pretty daunting. We weren't quite sure where we were at. We weren't quite sure whether we were going to stay open. We didn't know what we were allowed to do. As soon as the government put the restrictions in place and told us exactly what we were and weren't allowed to do, it was open doors. We got a letter in the mail saying that we're an essential service. We service SES boats. We deal with roads and maritime. We're good to stay open. And once people knew that they were allowed to go fishing, we were ridiculously busy. It's been probably the busiest month we have ever had. Christmas, no Christmas. It's been off the charts. So not just tackle, marine electronics, servicing, engines, and now that another engine manufacturer's said see you later, we're getting even busier.
Well, tell us about that, mate. That was the news that dropped only on Thursday this week. So tell us about the withdrawal of Evinrude from the upward market.
Yeah, there was news to us this morning. The old man he had a conference call with Mercury booked in this morning, and they got a call at about 8:05 saying that BRP's quit making Evinrude and outboard engines, and they're looking to all their other avenues. So it was a massive surprise. We got a press release via email, spread that like wildfire. Great news for us as a Mercury dealer and a Mercury lover. Probably not the best news for the industry, because it's never good to see a good player like that disappear, especially one as long-standing as Evinrude has been. Even though they disappeared back in 2000, they came back with a bit of force since then, and we're really pioneering the better two-stroke engines. But it is what it is, and we'll definitely take up the slack. So at least we know the ones that people want now, because it's the ones still around.
Well, the press release I read, it's said that one of the things BRP was doing was concentrating on its boat brands, and they've signed a deal with Mercury to do OEM motors for the back of the Evinrude boat brand. So instead of leaving their own boat brands in the lurch, they've partnered with Mercury, who is nearly a next door neighbour to them up in the north of the USA, up in Wisconsin. They're both in the same state, and hey, there's going to be a lot of boats that would have been supplied with Evinrude are now Mercury factory fitted. So, it's good technology. As far as the four-stroke go, that Mercury technology, it's the latest big block four-stroke technology. We both run those motors, and it's going to be nice to see some people who were previously running Evinrudes maybe enjoying that.
Yeah, it really is unrivaled at the moment with with new technology. Even from the 115 up, it's something else, and it'll be good to see some guys that probably would never have jumped into a Mercury get in, have those engines, and give some thoughts on it in comparison to what they had, because you don't get that crossover too often. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out in Australia with Telwater being the Evinrude distributor, and whether they roll over and stick Mercuries on their boats, which they have done in the past.
It's going to happen. Yep.
I was going to say, I'd assume that's where it's going to lead to. And as far as the dealer network for that and the Mercury dealer network, it's going to be an interesting time, but it is what it is. And the more Mercs out there, the better, as far as I'm concerned. So,
well, we know through our ABT statistics that it's around, 60 to 65 to 70% of our anglers use Mercs anyway. They all take advantage of the Mercury owners bonus in the brim. Like that.
Yeah, that's going to get harder.
Yeah, I know. Of course it will, mate. But, that Mercury Cup, it's a coveted title. You've got your name on it a few times. Jamie McKeown's got it now. And it's just good to see that Mercury's played the long game when it comes to ABT sponsorship. They've been there for – I don't remember a time when Mercury wasn't there. And I think it's just great when people are buying a motor. It's like, a lot of motors work well. A lot of motors have good warranties. A lot of them choose the one that gives them an extra bit of cash in the pocket when it comes to an ABT tournament, and it's an ABT sponsor. So it's great to see the whole cohort of anglers behaving like that.
And as a Merc tournament angler, I feel the same. So I've had Mercs for as long as I've been tournament fishing, and I stuck around with them, not just because he had the dealership, but because that was the engine I wanted to run. Look, we raced Mercs when we dealt with the race boats. It was just the engine to have. And I've personally feel good that I've stuck by that, and they've still stuck by the tournaments that we do. And it just keeps rolling on. It's only going to get bigger and bigger for them. So, and they've presented lots of opportunities with the Mercury Cup and the trips to Korea we do and bits and pieces like that. AFC, when it was there, they've always put their hand in their pocket to make it as much as what they could. Even when the economic climate wasn't so great, they were still there. And I think this is only going to make it bigger and better for them.
Hey, what about Carl Jochimson? He's an Evinrude user. He might turn into a Merc user too, mate. You might be brothers.
Yeah, well, I know a few little insides there from the last couple of years, and they've been trying to. So it might be the straw that broke the camel's back, hopefully. So I'd love to see him in a Merc, especially for our World Bash Championships hopes. We've got him on the team now for when it is finally run in 2021.
Yeah.
And if we can tie something up with Mercury and Carl at the same time, it's just going to make it all that easier to sort out boats and bits and pieces. So it's all playing into our hands so far, and I can only see good things coming from it.
That's awesome, mate. One last thing I want to talk to you about tonight is your relationship with the naming sponsor of the round that would have been on this weekend, Daiwa. Now, Daiwa's they've come and gone a bit from ABT over the years, but they're in big time at the moment. They've got some good young talent at Daiwa, which respects the fact that ABT anglers are very sponsor specific. They do use Daiwa stuff a lot. Take us through what your ultimate Daiwa outfit would have been for pole and brim out of those racks this weekend. Ignore the fact that you might have fished elsewhere. If you were fixing those bottom racks for donkeys, what would you be using? What would the Daiwa outfit be?
Oh, it's a hard one. I go through so many different rods for this. I reckon there's actually a rod that I use for bass quite a lot. The TD0, it's a 692L, 2 to 5 kilo, with probably a 2,500 sol on it, 10-pound J braid, 12-pound J thread leader.
Yeah.
If I was trying to catch the big ends in the nasty racks, that's probably what I would have tied on. I definitely wouldn't have had that the whole time, because fishing that heavy is probably not the best idea in the super clear water at Foster. But if I was tackling the brawlers and I needed a rod, that's probably the one to do it. It's light enough in the tip we can cast those super light plastics and cranks, but heavy enough down the bottom that you can stop them in their tracks if you need to, or you think you can.
What would the drag be set at from 0 to hero? What would it be at?
Set it stop. It's always at stop. Yeah.
Would it be
if it makes a noise, if it makes a noise, do it up tighter.
Yeah, true. Very cool. Do you use pliers to do that, or you do it by hand?
No, we got plenty of drag. Just squash them down. The washers might not be real flash after it, but that's all right. They still make them.
So long as the brim's in the boat. Now, last time we went to Foster, and we've had a chat to him already tonight. We had Mark Crompton win the event. Fishing racks in a rack boat, didn't even get a scratch on it. How obscene.
No, he wasn't fishing racks in a rack boat. He was fishing washboards where I wanted to fish the whole time, just up from me, pounding them on cranker crabs. It was really annoying watching it.
Mate, it was magic to come out of to have won a tournament in the lower system and not scratch your boat. That's fairly obscene though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, regardless of if you go to Foster, it's nearly sacrilege not to put a couple of war wounds on the paintwork or on the glasswork. So kudos. And anytime you can win a comp at Foster, you're doing pretty good, because there's a lot of people there that can catch a lot of good fish, and to beat some of the gurus there, like Babs and some of the other boys, he did pretty well.
Happy days, mate. Well, it's good to see that Manning River Marine's doing well. Of course, you welcome anyone watching tonight and any of the ABT members. They can have a chat to you or Jimmy direct. It's good to have that pathway to talk to someone that knows what the hell they're talking about in tournament fishing, isn't it? You've got that expertise on the ground. Yeah, we try our best. It's good having your finger in a lot of different pies in that respect, with like engines, tackle, marine electronics, the whole kit. We live and breathe it, so it's second nature to us to chat about it. So as soon as that news dropped today, I had 4 or 5 calls about Mercury engines straight away. Mine's going to roll over like yours is very soon. It was actually due to earlier in the year, and COVID happened and it fell through. But I'll probably post that up for sale very soon and roll into a fresh one as well. And yeah, it's just good to have and have the support from Mercury as well to be able to do that. Well, there you go. There's some news for anyone watching out there that wants to get into a Mercury motor. There's a couple of good secondhand ones going, mate. One for yours is a 225, mine's a 200. 250. 250. Yours is it? Okay. Yep. So if you want the big boy, talk to Kris. If you're less of a man like me, just have a yak to me, and we can get you sorted into the black, as they say. Once you've had black.
You never go back.
Thanks for joining us, Kris.
Cheers, mate.
Well, third time lucky. Let's hope that we've got this audio sorted finally. We've tracked through the whole system and we found a tiny little switch that we had to flick to make it all work properly. Apologies for the poor audio early on. Hey, we've been doing this 9 weeks. We're trying to stream on 2 places tonight. You can watch us on Facebook on the ABT Facebook page, or you can watch us on YouTube. Everyone who's watched us a long time is trained to watch us on YouTube. You can watch it on a smart TV. You can interact via the little comments down the side. And if you subscribe to ABT, hit that little bell, you get a notification every time we go live. If you missed at the start of the show because you turned the volume down because my audio was so crap, this is the last time we're doing this show weekly. We're going to drop to fortnightly after this, and then when we start tournaments, we're going to drop back to monthly. And we're not going to not do it. We're just going to fit it into our workflow. I suppose all the rest of our work's getting a little bit busy. It takes us about half a week to put together this show, so we're not going to leave you forever. We're just going to leave you fortnightly at the moment. Now, if you missed the competitions we got going on, you can comment on Facebook or comment on YouTube. Tell us where you're from. We got a great kit of AFC DVDs and this kick-ass Team Savage jersey from AFC Season 2, where it's on AFC Season 15 at the moment. So a great bit of memorabilia there. Not signed by Carl, but it was Carl and Ian Miller's team jersey. Let us know where you're from. Got a second competition running now, and this is going to be for a whole pack of Costa gear. We got some caps and stickers and bits and pieces, some Costa stuff. You need to tell me what your favourite lure would be to use at Foster. Doesn't matter if you're from WA and you've never been there. What would you tie on at Foster? And I'll give you a hint. We're only going to pick a lure for the winner if it's an ABT sponsor. That doesn't narrow it down too much because there are plenty of ABT sponsors here. And let me give you an example. Cranka, they make lures that you'd use at Foster. Megabass would make lures at Foster. What else have we got here? Pro Lure. We talked to those guys last week. They would make lures that we use at Foster. Imakatsu, things like Dilemma Poppers. They'd be great at Foster. Daiwa, make a whole heap of awesome lures you'd use at Foster. Samaki, we're going to talk about some Samaki stuff later tonight. They would make lures you use at Foster. Don't know if you'd use a Bassman spinnerbait at Foster, but if you would, that would count to win this tournament or this comp tonight. Eco Gear, Key Tech, OSP, look at them. Nearly every top Lotch brim lure is on the ABT sponsor list here. So let us know your favourite lure from Foster in the comments, and we're going to draw a person later tonight to win this great kit here. Now, we've also got a few of our guys that are appearing on the show tonight playing around in the sidebars there. So if you're on YouTube, I think Cromo's on, Jamie McKeown's on there, Chris Hickson, we saw him kicking around on YouTube while he's having a few snappy ones around the fire. You can ask him any questions. I saw Westy, who's going to be on later on. He is on Facebook at the moment, so make sure you do it. We might have seen Steezy there. He might be there under an A-list. Steezy, if you are there, sing out on whatever platform you're on. I know people are going to want to pick your brain after the information that you give them a little bit later tonight. Steezy's our next man on. Enter the comp, watch the ad. We're going to come back with him.
Hi. I lost a big fish earlier today. Wasn't using suffix. It was about this big.
Look, slow down there, cowboy, okay? A fish in the lobster van, huh? You want your fish. Sorry, honey, that fish is gone.
Always use the best line, suffix 832.
All right, ABT Lockdown Live, and it was only a matter of time before we got this man on the show, the genius behind the brim catchinest lure in Australia. I don't think anyone would argue with that. Steve Steer. Stevie, you're locked down in northern Tasmania there, mate. It was a bit of a coronavirus hotspot. Tell us the coronavirus story from your part of the world.
Yeah, it was, Morgo. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me. And, yeah, there was a bit of a corona outbreak in the northwest of Tasmania. So a couple of the hospitals come down with a heap of cases, and it broke out up there. So they locked the whole town of Burnie down, from what I know. And the lockdown, and tried to get on top of it, which they managed to, and cleaned all the hospitals, and we're back in the swing of things again. So
it was funny, wasn't it? Tassie sort of, they pulled up the drawbridge and said, "Ha ha, we haven't got any coronavirus," and then all of a sudden you were ahead of the medal tally for a while there. So.
Yeah, I think it was a couple of people from the Ruby Princess, ended up in that hospital, and it just went from there. So
mate, isolation for Cranka lures, you sort of work, out of home anyway. You don't commute a long way to a city office. I suppose isolation and non-isolation is sort of the same for you.
Yeah, it hasn't really changed a bit. I mean, Coxie's had to sort of relocate for a while there. So he went home and worked from home, which worked pretty good. Except he's got some young kids, gave him curry. But he's back now, so we're both working flat out. So it's been good. I've actually, enjoyed the bit of time with the family, the extra time with the family, the bit of time doing a bit of R&D and design stuff. It's sort of, with sales sort of dropping off a little bit through March there, it gave me a bit of time to focus on design and development and really tick some boxes. So, yeah, I'm very happy.
Now, for anyone who's not in the industry, you know that while the lockdown happened, sales for everyone just went through the floor, and everyone sort of was panicking. But then as soon as relaxation started to lift a little bit, and maybe that after Easter period, the whole industry's been going nuts. I think there's been more people fishing and boating than ever before. And has that been reflected in your business? Are your sales going all right at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. We took a real nosedive start of March, and it was scary. We were wondering, we had a production batch on the go that we paid deposits for, and that was getting manufactured. And I started second guessing whether we wanted that stock to come. I started sort of thinking, can we sell it? Our tackle store's going to take it up. The store's sales just dived in a big way really quickly, and then rebounded amazingly. And so it's been incredible the last 3 or 4 weeks. With this whole entire shipment that we've just had land is all gone. So it's I need more. So who knew? 1 minute you're sort of scared for your life, and the next minute you can't keep up. So yeah.
Now, we follow you on social media, Steezy, and you're always doing lots of quality assurance checks. So at the moment, these crabs, they get made in China. And obviously, you're not happy to just take them out of the box and send them to the tackle store, mate. Every single one gets the Steezy inspection, does it?
Yeah, it does, mate. At the moment, we've just had a few issues over the years that we've had to keep an eye on. We had one batch come in with poor paint bond, and it went out to customers, and it really hurt us. We had a lot of returns and had to replace them, which is fine. We were more than happy with that. But, it's something we didn't need. And, there's been various other little bits and pieces along the way that we just, wrong barcode on the wrong packet, a light in a heavy packet or a heavy in a light packet, and various other things. Just small issues that human error, it happens in mass production. And for me to sleep at night and be comfortable, I just want to know that I've inspected every item before it goes out the door. So, yeah, we still do 100% QA checks on every product that comes in the door. So,
well, sounds like a huge effort, mate. Now, when people pull their Cranka crab out and tie it on, they throw it out, they catch fish. We all know that a Cranka crab straight out of the box is a fish catching machine. What I notice a lot of people do is once they finish fishing with that crab, they'll hang it up on the rod runner or they'll put it down on the deck. I've become very anal in the last couple of years about really looking after those legs on the crab, looking after the claws on the crab, because if those legs bend up and it starts spiraling down, brim don't like that as much, do they?
No, that's true, mate. It is important to store them properly. And when we ship out orders to our customers directly, we put a little card in the box to tell them about storage, the best way to store and what have you. So it is important. We like to keep our crabs in good order for that reason. They do fall straight and, you know, sort of they don't twist in sink. So, yeah, it can put the fish off at times. Look, I've seen people out there with the most bent up, twisted up legs, and they're still catching fish on them. At times, it doesn't really matter. Other times, it can. So when it's finicky, it's really important.
I remember my light bulb moment for it was fishing a Gippsland tournament, which is an arena I've come to love nowadays. But I knew these fish were in these docks, and I was fishing for I caught a few fish, and then I changed crabs, and I had one and it wasn't sinking properly, and it took me a long time. It took me maybe 90 minutes to realise that this thing was just spiralling down. And I went, "Oh, that's wrong." So I took it off and I put a new one on, and within one or two casts, I was started to catch fish again. And it was a light bulb moment for me. Why did I spend all this money coming down here and all this effort finding the fish, and then I was putting up with a substandard crab? So nowadays, for me, I make sure that the crab's always hooked on the rod properly. It's always positioned so that the legs are in the air. But if you do end up bending the legs, there are things that you can do, aren't there, to get it back to life, mate? Run us through some of the things you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. If you get bent legs, it's real easy fix. You don't have to change legs. We do offer replacement legs, and you can buy replacement legs to change them out. It's not an easy job. They're glued in, so it's a bit of a pain to change the legs. So you are best to try and fix them in the crab. And the easiest way is to just run your sink full of straight hot water, 60 degrees, roughly 60, 70 degrees sort of water temp. You can do it in the kettle if you like, but fill your sink with, 6 inches of water, and then drop your crabs in for about a minute. They'll soften. You'll just see the legs start to relax. And what happens is once the heat gets into that material that we've used for the legs, it returns back to its original sort of molded shape. And then if you quickly grab it out of the sink and hold them straight while it cools, it will stay in that set position that you've held them in. So that's how you fix your legs. You can take a totally destroyed crab and turn it into a good fishable crab in no time. So.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing. I find myself nowadays at tournaments with it's like I've got a hot cup of tea in a tea bag, but it's really a crab that I'm dipping in the water there and fixing it up. And of course, Jamie McKeown taught me, if you've got crabs that you think are the wrong colour, there's nothing at all technical about changing the colour of a crab. He gets the cardboard, he puts the crab on it, he gets the paint, he goes, crabs, legs, hooks and everything, dries it off a bit. There you go, Morgo. Custom painted crab, and they like eating it.
Here's an example. So, this is just one. I just quickly grabbed a bit of orange paint and just squirted on one of our, and it sticks, particularly if you use the Tamiya hobby paint.
Yep.
You can get it in all different colors, but it's designed for plastic.
Yep.
So it bonds to plastic really well. And, the original sort of handmade ones that I started fishing with many, many years ago were all hand painted that way. I use that Tamiya paint on a lot of my prototyping, and it works a treat. It's really good. You can make whatever color you like. So if you're looking for that edge, you want to pimp your own crabs and just get that edge in a comp, you might roll a rock and find a crab that, we don't do in a color. You can mix and match and spray them up, and it works extremely well. So gives you flexibility.
That's it, mate. The other thing that's really important, I think, to have in your crab box is the handful of those spare hooks. And when you sent them I got some from you originally. You sent me a little box each of left and right claws, and I'm thinking, what's going on here? Left, right, they all look the same. Tell us the difference. Is there a difference, and why is it important?
Yeah, there is a difference. So when we make our claws, they're a laser cut foam. So you have your claw like this. On a left, it is tied onto the hook this way. On a right, it's flipped and it's tied onto the hook. You put them on opposite is that they don't hang straight and they don't hang right. They want to sort of do this or this. So it's important that you get a left and a right. So whenever we send out replacement claws, we mark them left and right. Unfortunately, we just haven't got to the stage. We've been so busy that we haven't been able to actually package them in a left and right sort of blister. which is what we want to do
Yeah.
eventually, so that people can recognise, you know, with a little picture of a crab, the claw on the left, the claw on the right, so they know exactly which one goes on where. But it is important. We find it important. I'm sure there's people out there that, you know, are doing it wrong and still catching fish on them. So
That's right. That's right. It's always, you think you might be doing it wrong, but the brim are telling you that you're doing it right. That's the ultimate litmus test. Now, one of the other, if we're talking about how to destroy a crab, like, you know, we can destroy the legs, we can destroy the claws with getting them torn apart by fish. I'm sure I'm not the only person in Australia that is not as good a caster as Steezy, and I have pelted mine into a bridge pylon, and I've lost the bottom weight for it, mate. Tell us any advancements you got in making sure that tungsten weight stays on there.
yeah, look, I'm excited to say we've been that has been a little issue. Our first batch that came in, the very first original Cranka crabs, the entire shipment had a design fault in them. You know, that we had glued the base plate into place, but our manufacturer had sat their little glue pot on their heater through winter, and the glue had gone off, and then they glued all the base plates, and the base plates weren't glued because the glue had gone off. And the first batch, we had base plates coming off left, right, and centre. So it was an issue. So at that stage, we decided we had to overcome that issue. We couldn't have that happen as often, at least. So we totally redesigned. We retooled. We started from the ground up. And, you know, that first shipment, we had to replace many of those crabs. You know, they were in a different packet than they are now. So we knew exactly what they were. And then when we retooled and relaunched and redesigned, we put it in a new packet. So we knew which were old, which were new. And yeah, we totally redesigned it. But since then, we've still had an issue, obviously, occasionally where people, if they repeatedly cast into bridge pylons or jetties and boat hulls and so forth, yep, it happens. You know, we all do it. We all bash it, repeatedly whack it into stuff. You're going to break bibs. You're going to break things off it. So that's what happens with our weights. Occasionally you get them smashed off, and it's through impact. It's amazing the impact that you get from a lure on a cast. So what we've done now, we've got a new design, and we've been working on it for years. We've finally come up with a new way. And again, we've started from the ground up. We've got a new crab that we're going to launch onto the market in the near future that has we fixed that problem. You can bash it into brick walls all day and not have that weight come off. We've also changed the leg material so that we don't have that issue with the bending legs in the boxes, in the tackle trays, in the storage. So we've sort of thought about all the little things that people mightn't like about our crabs, you know, and we've tried to rectify them and make them better. And we've put another little unique feature in amongst them, so it should it's a better product, it's a better finished product, and it's a stronger, more resilient product for people in the field. So
well, there you go, mate. You've all heard it here first on ABT Lockdown Live. The first little snippet of information that Steezy's letting at the door, that he's going to make the crabs, which are such a magnificent lure, you're going to make them even more angler friendly, mate. You're only going to you're going to have a sore back for all the pats on the back for that one, I reckon.
Mate, look, we're trying to do our best, mate. It's a hard game, and you know, when you're in the hands of other people manufacturing your product, it's difficult. You know, you do have issues that you don't expect, so it's a learning curve. We're learning as we go, and you know, we're listening to anglers. That's the main thing. We need the feedback. We want the feedback. We want people to tell us what's going on with our product, because it's all about making the best we can, and you know, we're doing our best. So any feedback's good feedback, good, bad, otherwise we love it, and we want to improve on it. So
that's awesome, mate. I got one last question for you, and I know your lures have now caught, you know, thousands of fish all over the world, lots of different species. You know, on that Cranka crab ad that we run on the show here, it shows you all the different sorts of species that have all come in. But I want you to tell me what capture, and I'll get you to send a photo of it to Nicole to put as an overlay here. What is the most extraordinary capture, or one that's made you most proud, or where you've just looked at it and just gone, holy shitbags, look at my lures. What have they caught there?
Oh wow, there's been many actually. I have been very surprised by the species or the number of species globally that have been caught on our crabs to date. But I guess the first permit was an eye opener. You know, it really, that's what I had hoped and dreamed of catching on our crabs. You know, I've never done it myself. It's a bucket list species that I want to target on our crab. And for Alyssa Faulkner caught the first one that I knew of, and it was a great fish. She sent through pictures, and that was on the 50 mil crab. So our small original 50 mil crabs, which aren't obviously designed ideally for big permit, but yeah, she managed to land this fish, and I was wrapped with that capture. It really, you know, it made me think, wow, that's pretty special. So
yeah. Look, they are a special lure, mate, and I know personally I've used them in all parts of the world, and wherever you fish them, people just go, that is an amazing lure. You know, when you take it to America, and the Americans have seen everything, and they look at a bait and go, that is a nicely designed bait, you know, that you've really kicked a goal, mate. So thank you very much for taking the time to join us on ABT Lockdown Live today, mate. Good work in Tasmania for squashing those coronavirus cases down, and we look forward to be tournament fishing with your product again as soon as possible.
Look, I'd just like to say thank you to every tournament angler out there for the support. It means the world to us. We can't do what we do without your support. So truly, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Cheers, Steezy.
Thanks, Morgo.
Well, there you go. As we say, you heard it first on ABT Lockdown Live. Steezy is actually online now. He's on the YouTube channel, actually, if you want to ask Steezy any of the questions and try to extract maybe a little bit more information about that soft launch that he just did of the new and awesome Cranka crabs. He is there to do it, as well as Cromo, Hickson, Jamie, all on YouTube. I saw Westy on Facebook before as well. I'm going to draw the first of we have drawn the first of the prizes for tonight. Jeff Barry from Balmoral, Lake Macquarie, has won himself the authentic Series 2 Team Savage jersey as worn by Carl Jochimson and Ian Miller. Jeff, you need to send us a Facebook message to the Australian Bass Tournament's Facebook page and let us know your address. If we haven't heard from you by the end of the show, I'm going to be pretty tempted to redraw that thing. So if you know Jeff, tag him in, or Jeff, if you're listening, shoot us a message there now and we will get this stuff to you. And as well as the jersey, there's 5 or 6 AFC DVDs there. Remember the next comp we had, and you can put it in the comments in Facebook or YouTube, what lure would you be throwing at Foster this weekend? And it's got to be an ABT sponsors product. A bit of a cheat sheet here of all of the ABT sponsors that you can choose from. You can put whatever lure you liked in there. It doesn't have to be an ABT sponsor, but I guarantee Nicole is only going to pick one that's an ABT sponsor. Bit of a hint for you there. And also, how many of you guys are now going out to the shed and digging out your old bucket of Cranka crabs that have got all the manky legs? Guess what? They can be fixed, and that was a great bit of advice there from Steezy on how to do it. And another trick from Jamie McKeown is if you're missing the belly weight on your crabs, don't chuck them out, fix the legs up, go get a 5 gram sticky lead tyre weight from your local tyre shop. You might have to do a bit of brown nosing down there to get it, but stick it straight on the bottom. Doesn't look as pretty as the original one, but it does catch fish and it gets your Cranka crabs back on the water. So just because your Cranka crabs had a bit of a hide, and don't write it off. It's still going to be a good lure for you. Rightio, we're going to go to the next segment. I don't know if we've got a sponsors out or not, but we're going to get Vince from around Taree area to show us your boat, powered by Mercury.
God, they're strong. Get in the boat, outside, right to the boat.
Hi guys, this is my 2019 Bass Cat Margay. I got it about 6 months ago. It's powered by the 150 Pro XS. The boys at Manning Marine fitted it for me. Set up spot on right now. It's doing about 102k. My first ever bass boat, so I'm very happy with it so far. Spinning a 4-blade 24 pitch prop on a I think it's a 6-inch jack plate. Yeah. This is. I got back here. I got a little spot. I'll put my color tags in here. Fuel tank. Two leg electric motor batteries. I got my charging things for it, and my crank battery is down there. Live wells. The big Bass Cat live wells are awesome. Keep my fish alive all day. I run a hot foot. I got 2 Garmin GPS. I think they're 2 Garmin 1022s on the front. And a step. Just jump in. Big center storage. I got about 15 rods in there at the moment. If we pack them nicely, it comes about 15 rods plus all my bream and bass gear right now. I'm running the Minn Kota Fortrex so far. I'm very happy with it. I like how responsive it is. My second 10-inch Garmin up the front. Dual bungee rod straps. And yeah. Sitting on a single axle Bass Cat trailer with a single way tongue. Love that because without that it wouldn't fit in my garage. So that's it. There you have it. This is my 2019 Bass Cat Margay. Thanks to Craig and Jacob Simmons from Bass Cat. Now they great people to deal with, and love it. Love this boat. Absolutely happy with it. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Vince. A great little boat. That is exactly the same package that we gave away at the grand final last year. It was the Bass Cat Margay powered by that 150 horsepower Mercury. Absolute weapon of a boat, and great to see that Manning and Marine, a great ABT sponsor, has sorted you out with that. You've got a couple of great Mercury caps coming out to your place, mate, for doing the Show Us Your Boat segment. And we're happy to roll on this segment, but that's the last one that I've got there now. So I'm just telling you, we've got no more Show Us Your Boat segments. If you want to go out and film a segment on your phone, flip it sideways with your Mercury-powered boat that you fish tournaments in. Can be a 20 horsepower, can be 250 horsepower, doesn't matter. We will run it on the show, and we will get you some Mercury merchandise to say thank you very much. The next segment we got is from the absolute legend of bass electric fishing, Charles Westy West. It's the story about going to Japan, about winning a perfect score AOY, about nearly winning a grand final, and about some crazy Japanese karaoke late at night. And there is some secret information there of some stuff coming up with Westy and his ghost. Check it out. And I did forget to say, Westy, he's also on the YouTube chat. If you want to ask him what his favourite Japanese karaoke song is, get on there and do it. And I have got another set of prizes tonight. I got some more Costa merchandise. I got an ABT tournament shirt, some Merc hats. I want you to put down in the comments what you think Westy would karaoke the best in Japan. What song? What do you reckon he would punch out better than any of those short Japanese dudes, and better than Joey Urquhart over there? So whack that in the comments. Let's go and chat to Westy.
You know, on ABT Lockdown Live, we've had some true legends of the sport over the years. And this man I've got with me now is no exception. He has won an Angler of the Year title in the Bass Electric Series with 5 wins out of a possible 5 wins. Charles Westy West, mate. No one can ever beat that. No one can ever get more than 500 points, mate. All anyone can do in the next 100 years is equal that, mate. Must feel pretty good to have that one in the record books.
I think so, Steve. It's pretty good, mate. I couldn't believe it when it unfolded. Like, I remember ringing Adrian. I had a first, a fourth, and a first, and I was like, man, that's amazing. That's the best I've ever done. And he shuts me down with, oh, yeah, I've got a first, a second, and a first. And I'm just like, oh, come on, man, you burst me bubble, but that's all right. I've got 5 out of 5, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Look, it was great, mate. And it was a string of form for you that went for a couple of years, and it culminated in you winning the Bass Electric Convention on Lake Wivenhoe, the biggest electric lake that we got, and getting a trip to Japan, mate. And it happened to be that you were over there at the same time as some of the ABT guys were over there. Tell us about the Japanese trip, mate. They are a crazy, crazy set of people, aren't they?
Mate, just the hospitality and just their culture is amazing. Like, they're willing to help you at any length possible. Just they take care of us so much. It was so good because obviously it was sponsored by Valley Hill and Joey was too. So it made the trip that little bit extra exciting because you're there for a grand final prize. You get to share it with the whole team from Valley Hill, like bring the trophy over, show them on the stand, and they're all excited for you, and you could really embrace that whole feeling with everyone. So it was really good.
Yeah, so there's a song about, I'm big in Japan. Are you bigger in Japan than you are in Australia, or what?
I'm taller in Japan than I am in Australia, if that counts.
Yeah, when you're on the subways, we all stand a head above everyone else. Maybe all of us except Joey are taller than Japanese guys, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly right. There was one time when it was a bit of a surreal moment. We did a lot of tackle stores and that, and we were going to get wet weather gear and that for Lake Arno, which we were going to do the day after. And we walked into a Fishing Max, and we walked upstairs, and I was looking at some wet weather gear, and there's some discounted stuff. And I picked up this one suit, and I looked over at our host at Hiroaki. He was talking to the 2 guys that run the shop there, and they came over, and the next thing you know, they've picked up my basket goodies. They've picked up, like, they've taken my coat off because it was hot in the store, so I took my coat off. They grabbed my coat and started walking around with me, and I'm like, what's going on here? And Hiro goes, well, they've seen you on the Valley Hill webpage on our blog, and they think you're a superstar. And I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. And Joe got the same deal too. Like, he got his stuff carried, and we were walking around the store. They gave us awesome discount, and then we threw the gear on and jumped out the front of the store and was doing crazy Instagram pictures for them and stuff. So yeah, that was incredible, man. I'm just an average Joe from Australia, mate, and yeah, just the hospitality from them was amazing.
Yeah, it is good, mate. And let's delve into a little bit. One night we decided to ditch the Japanese hosts and let's go karaokeing. And this, of course, was instigated by Nicole Smith, who's ABT's karaoke champion of the world. So you, me, Joey, and Nicole decided to go karaokeing in Osaka late one night. Tell us that story.
Yeah. Well, that story. Okay. We're traveling back from dinner back to the hotel, and we've done the whole see you later, hero, and then we've done the old detour to the train station. So Joey had internet. I didn't have internet over there. And he goes, all right, we need to go here, and this is the picture we were given. And I go, okay, no worries, let's go. So we're on a train line, not realising there's two different train lines in Japan. So we're on one, you guys are on another. So the train station's called something different. So we've jumped off the train at the right station, jumped on a different train and went to another station further down the line to then walk amongst all crazy alleyways. And I've gone, Joe, man, this is not it, dude. We're like in the backs of some bad shit here. So, so we've turned around and we've jumped back on, and we've obviously corresponded between you guys, and we finally located where we had to be. And like, we looked up and there's one train line and then there's another train line underneath it. So yeah, it was confusing, but yeah, it was part of the adventure, mate. So that's what it's about.
Of course it was. And then karaokeing is a real big thing in Japan. You get a private little room and we're all sitting there belting out our best tunes, mate. And we had such a good time. We left it until the train shut. I didn't think trains ever shut in Japan, but apparently at midnight, that's it. The trains are all shut. So we all were left to our own devices to try and find our way back in Japan. And we ended up catching a taxi. Did you end up catching a taxi as well?
Yeah, we like when we said goodbye to yous, we'd gone through, and I've looked, and there's these random people are running And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's pretty much Japan. They run everywhere or walk really fast. But then the lady comes out and starts shutting off all the escalators. And I'm like, this just doesn't seem right, man. And then I spoke to a guy and like, trains running? And like, oh, no, taxi. And they point over to a taxi. Well, our experience with the taxi driver over there, that time and previous times is if they don't know it, they just say no, out. Pretty much. And they're like, uh-oh. I know we're a good distance away. And they seem to like to work in their own prefectures, like their own areas. They don't really like to go outside of that. But luckily enough, I think Joey had like 1 bar and battery left. Like we were running on nothing. And he just said yes. And then off we went. And that was it. And we just prayed that we knew where we were going. And he did all the detours of all the tolls. So he didn't go on all the toll roads. So we didn't know where the hell we were until all of a sudden he goes, oh, yes, you're here. And we looked and went, that's the train station that's right near our hotel. So
happy
that
days,
was,
mate.
it was sketchy, but yeah, we made it.
Mate, best $200 karaoke night ever for taxi fares.
Yeah, thanks for that night. I don't really like karaoke, but that night was entertaining. It was good. So thank you.
There you go. We're talking about it on Lockdown Live now, mate. So look, let's talk a little bit about the 2020 Bass Electric Series. I think of all the tournaments that ABT run, the Brim, we got about half a series away before COVID happened. The Bass events, we got 1 away, but Bass Electric, we haven't got any away yet, mate. It seems like, it may be the Bass Electric Australian Open will be the first Bass Electric tournament this year. We know you were leading that thing last year, and that place kicks out some insane bags. Mate, how good is it going to be to get on the water again with an electric motor and catch some of the kick-assinest bass in Australia in that event?
I think it's going to be amazing. If there was only one event for the year, I think Open on Warralong in that springtime, you couldn't get a better venue and time of year for those bass. They're on steroids, man. They're just so angry and aggressive, and they're so great to catch that time of year. So I think it's going to be awesome.
And last year, you caught them 4-wheel driving your lures through some nasty, nasty stuff. So not only are you catching 2 kilo bass, you're hooking 2 kilo bass in nastiest situation imaginable. So it's a real hand-to-hand combat, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's exciting. It's really good. Yep.
So anyone that hasn't done the Bass Electric Australian Open, it's 1 person per boat. You can leave your petrol motor on the back of the boat. So if there's any of the pro guys want to have a crack at it, you can come in your bass boat. Just trim your motor up out of the water and leave it on and come and do hand-to-hand combat with those fish, because you don't actually have to go that far to catch them. Like you can catch tournament-winning fish with inside of the boat ramp.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. Like the upgrader I got in the last sort of half an hour of day one, literally you could get it. It's not that far from the boat ramp at all. I'm not going to give away the spot, but it's not too far away from the boat ramp. It's easy enough to get to. So yeah, they are fish close to the boat ramp.
Yeah, that's awesome, mate. And now news for you is that through our networks, we've managed to get you some product testing on a really cool new product from Lowrance. Tell us all about it.
Lowrance Ghost. What can I say? Thank you guys for giving us a shout out there for sure. The thing looks awesome. I haven't had it on the water, but yet I'm still so excited to have it in the boat. Yeah, man. Well, I'm so excited. I'm speechless, to be honest. Big thanks to you guys and obviously Navico Lowrance Australia for giving me the opportunity to review it. Looking forward to it.
Sure. Well, you're already a Lowrance user anyway, and there's it took a while to get them to talk to each other because you need some sort of software upgrade for your sounders, but your electric motor and your sounder talk to each other very well. Take us through some of the basic things that you think the Ghost is going to do for your fishing.
Okay, so for my fishing, I think it doesn't matter whether I've got a petrol motor on pre-fishing or whether I'm in a tournament with my electric on the back as well. If I'm sitting down looking at my screen, using my side scan, you can direct that motor to a cursor. Like if you push on your GPS marker cursor without even putting a GPS mark on it, you can send the motor to the cursor. Or if you have a waypoint, like if you're on side scan, you see a school or you see something that you want to fish, sometimes it's too hard to mark it and then go and zoom in on your screen and then try and find your way there. With the Ghost, you can send it straight to the waypoint. So while it's going there, you can be getting up on your deck, putting the coffee down, and grabbing your rod and going for it. So I think that's going to play a big key in what I'm going to do. So I can't wait for that.
I think the other important thing is this brushless motor technology. I don't know if you've revved it up yet and heard how quiet those brushless electric motors are.
Yeah.
There's a whole suite of brands coming out with these brushless motors, mate, and they are dead set.
It's like the way I've got it, my boat sits on the trailer, I can actually deploy my electric motor. And the foot pedal is, I can't believe how responsive that foot pedal is. Like, I've had cable steer and electric steer. Cable steer is very responsive. You can feel, as you're putting the pedal down, you can really feel the head moving underneath your feet. Electric steer, you don't feel it, but you can see it and you can hear it. With this, you don't hear it as much, but yet it is so sensitive to your foot. You can literally throw your foot forward and it is turning like ridiculously fast, but it's smooth. You can't feel the weight under your feet. It's crazy.
Yep. No, you get rid of all of that talk, mate. It's an interesting product, and we're looking forward to your video reviews of this product moving forward, because there's a lot of Lowrance users out there. There's a lot who are keen about the product, and having the guy that's won 5 out of 5 Bass Electric events, mate, to win AOY. Who better is there to give this thing a bit of a test, give it a flog and see if he can break it and see how it can improve your fishing, mate. So we're looking forward to some of that footage moving forward, mate. Mate, just finally, we know your heart and soul is invested in the Bass Electric series, and there are a couple of sponsors that really make it happen. Bit of a shout out to them, for the guys that stick their hand up to make it all happen, because we all know that fishing events don't just miraculously pop up.
Oh, exactly right. Like, I think because I've got the chance to do it, I think I'd like to, thank some of the guys that have supported me in the earlier days to now. So, likes of like Simon Goldsmith worked with Haswing to get me the deal with Haswing. He put my name forward for that, amongst others. So I thank him for that. Tommy Slater, like, I didn't know Tommy Slater from a bar of soap. I never met him, never spoke to him. And he randomly messaged me one day in regards to if I would like to join 13 fishing through Nomad Fishing. And at first I was like, oh, yeah, I'm not quite sure. And I left it. But then he revisited like 6 months later. And he said, I would really like you to show you these new rods. And so I went in and seen him. And, yeah, so he signed me up. So Tommy really helped with that. So I thank him very much for that. And then the guys from Dogtooth Distributions as well, they also had spoken to Simon Goldsmith in the office and asked if there was anyone that would be interested. And Simon put up myself and Joey's name and a bunch of other guys. And we started working with Dogtooth, which was really great. And they introduced us to the guys from Valley Hill. So we signed a contract directly to Valley Hill for our sponsorship deal, which was like an international sponsorship deal. So definitely want to say thanks to the guys from Dogtooth. And then, yeah, Valley Hill guys, like the Valley Hill and the Jado guys, a big shout out to those guys. They're awesome. They look after us every time we go to Japan, and they're willing to help us any way they possibly can. So, yep, that's, everyone I'd like to thank in the sponsorship part of things. So, yeah.
Well, that's awesome, mate, and we look forward to getting those Japanese back and showing a bit of Aussie country hospitality. Maybe one year we can get them across and to fish wire along and pull those little Japanese arms straight. We'll pull the kinks out of their tackle, mate. This is no drop shot for a little 1 pound largemouth. This is hand-to-hand combat, and I think they'll like it.
Exactly right. Definitely no 2 pound straight through kind of gear either.
No. Well, they can try it, but they can just learn it the hard way like we all have, mate. Westy, thanks very much for joining us on the show tonight, mate. We really look forward to your reviews of stuff coming up, and thanks for joining us on ABT Lockdown Live.
No worries. Thanks, Steve.
Well, there you go. I don't think I have seen an angler snapping his doodle off as hard as Westy when it comes to that Lowrance Ghost, and we're really looking forward to the content that he's going to create for us as he reviews and tests this motor right through to the end of the year this year. We've picked some winners. We've got the what lure would you use at Foster? We've got we've got an angler that would use a Pro Lure S38 crank black floating over the Foster weed flats, and that angler, of course, is Lex Court. Lex, if you're watching, make sure you Facebook us your address. We just want to double check and make sure what we've got in the ABT database matches where you're living right now, mate. So congratulations to you, mate. Pro Lure, great sponsor. We featured them on the show a week ago, and they're kicking real goals. Also, I shout out to, I think it was Adrian, the guy that sent me a message today and sent me a photo of all the Pro Lures that he bought after listening to the Pro Lure Pro staff last weekend, mate. Great to see you guys out there supporting ABT sponsors, how it all works. Also, we've drawn the prize for what would Westy sing in karaoke, and of course he would sing Turnin' Japanese, and Jordan Armstrong, you were the first man to do that. So, Jordo, send us a Facebook message. Just confirm your address with us. I've got what have I got? Some Mercury caps, another ABT jersey. So tell us your shirt size as well, Jordan. Some buffs, some stickers, bits and pieces there. So we have got a prize pack coming to you. Now, we've only got one more angler, and we went out this morning with this guy to shoot a little bit of stuff. He's the Queensland Open champion. He's the Australian Open champion. He's sponsored heavily by Samaki. Let's go and go fishing with Jamie McKeown. So we thought it was time for a field trip on ABT Lockdown Live, so I've just grabbed the Australian and Queensland Open current champion Jamie McKeown to come and give me a go of his Samaki rods. It's coming into a winter pattern. He's an absolute gun on this bridge here at the Nerang. It's time for me to get a lesson from the champ about how to catch fish on his Samaki rods. And Jamie, your Samaki rods, you've been with Samaki for a long time now, and these sticks have caught you some good fish, haven't they?
Yeah, I've really seen them progress from where they used to be to where they are now, with the version 2s of everything coming out, and Josh has done a great job on refining everything. You'll notice if you've had Samaki rods in the past, if you go to the newer models, they're so much lighter, so much finessier. They're just great rods, and one of the other great things about them is, like this rod here is the Zing Extreme version 2, 701. So I can fish heavy crabs with that, bent minnows, cranks, you name it. You can do a lot of things on one sort of rod.
That's right, and some of the newer ones that I saw released last year that were really nice in their hand were the Archers as well. Take us through that model.
Yeah, the Archers are, they're the ones I used last year at the Australian Open.
Yep.
So that one's a 722, and you'll see all the components on them are just, they look good, they feel good, and they're not going to send you bankrupt if you buy a couple.
Yeah, they're definitely a light rod in the hand, and we saw these things in action at the Australian Open last year down at Sydney Harbour, reefing those brim out of what you've renamed Pig and Sow's Reef, even though it's called Sow and Pigs, mate.
That's it.
So look, we're at the Nerang River this morning. We're 20 metres from the boat ramp at the famous Nerang River Bridge. Jamie, run us through what we're looking for this morning. We've had a little bit of a sneak around and found which set of pylon the brim are sitting on. What's the technique this morning?
Okay, so what we need, we're going to be using the heavy olive cranker crabs, and as you can see, as we'll go through it, the pylons, the tide's just starting to trickle in. It'd be better if we have a little bit more tide, but the tide, while it's running in, it's not running directly in line with the pylons. The tide's running across the pylons. So what we need to do is put the crab up in between the pylons and bring it back through the pylons, because that's where all the fish congregate in school, is in between the pylons rather than out in the open, because there's a lot of current.
Yeah, and as you can see, we'll put the overlays of the screenshots that we've taken this morning. There are plenty of fish on one set of pylons here. We're going to throw these cranker crabs in on the Samaki rods and just see what damage we can do. We might as well take you all fishing on a Friday night on ABT Lockdown Live. Hey, there he is. So Jamie, exactly where the sounder said the fish were, that's where they were, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's not a real big fish. You just got to take it easy on him because you're using small hooks, and don't want to pull the hooks out of him.
Definitely not a 900 grammer, but
no.
It'd be in a bag in a tournament, mate.
For sure.
When tournaments start again, you're on there.
Yeah.
That's a bag filler. And again, only 20 metres from the boat ramp.
Yeah.
Chucky, mate, we're going to catch bigger than that. The rock pile to the side. So there's definitely fish here. They just need to sort of be talked into biting, don't they?
Yeah. A little bit more run. They get a bit more interested in it when the tide runs a bit more.
And that nice long 7'6" Samaki there takes all the bumps out of it. Only little fish. But I reckon Jamie knows where the big ones are. So Jamie, you're sort of known as the expert on the bridge here now. Tell us through the process of how you learned how to fish it. Like, when was the first time you fished it, and how did the light bulb moment happen?
Mate, I fished it in a kayak the first time. And I think the good thing about the kayak was I was able to, I got right in tight to a lot of the, to a lot of the pylons, and just was able to see what was on the pylons, crabs were on the pylons, what the water was doing around the pylons. So it was a bit of trial and error. But once you work out where your crab needs to be and all about line management, then it just sort of starts to fall into play.
So it was only pretty recently you learned how to fish it, you know, within a couple of years of learning how to fish it, you were master in this joint.
Yeah, I'd never fished here until I think it was the kayak round I fished in 2 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
And I put the kayak in here at the boat ramp and thought, I'll have a fish on the bridge, knowing that it was close to the start. And I've just fallen in love with it ever since. It's been a go-to spot for the last couple of years.
We nearly need to write Jamie's Bridge on you, don't we?
No, anyone can fish here. There's been plenty of people I've brought here, and plenty of people fish here while I'm here fishing as well. It's there's enough fish here usually for a lot of people to sort of not get in each other's way and still be able to catch fish. So.
Well, it doesn't affect your results, does it?
No.
A lot of people will come here, you'll catch 4 kegs, everyone else will catch 2 kegs. What's the main mistake they make?
I think line management and not putting their lure in the right place.
Yeah. Can't be scared.
No. And the thing is, it's not really, like you see, guys that I've brought here on my boat have gone, what are you doing throwing in there? But if you watch the current, I generally throw it in between the pylons, and the current will bring it straight back down, so it's not going to wrap around. The worst thing you can do is go up on the forward side of the pylons where the current is and throw along the pylons, because your crab or your lure is just going to go straight into the oyster.
Yep.
So if you know where the fish are holding in the pylons, and what you need to do is put your lure in that spot and keep it in that spot as long as possible.
Yep. Well, we're going to fish this for a few more minutes, mate, but then we're going to go to another one of your favourite spots, the trawlers, and see if we can belt a few on aquas on these these Samaki rods.
Should be fun. There we go.
That's it. It's such a gentle bite around the base of that pole, and hey, how nice is this 7'6" rod?
Yeah, it's a nice rod.
Really cushions the blow on the crabby, so a jibe, another bag filler.
Not a terrible fish.
There's a little down there. And with that, I think it's time we went and gave the trawlers a pounding, Jamie.
I think so.
Fat little winner fish. So, Jamie, of course we can't go past the trawlers without having a cast, mate. So we thought this might be a way to finish our session today. Tell us what the go is here. There's some boats pumping in behind us. It's a whole lot of commercial boats. Tell us how it sets up,
mate. It's there really isn't anything special about fishing here. We're using aquas on 1/50th jig heads. I've got 6-pound fluorocarbon leader, probably 8-pound braid again, and I use the 7/6 Samaki rods, just so they've got a little bit in the tip, but you can put a bit of hurt on them as well if you want to pull it out.
Well, this is an interesting situation. I'm fishing mine on a hidden weight system. I very rarely fish an aqua on an open hook, but I think in this sort of situation here, mate, there's nothing really much for them to, for you to get snagged around. So let's we'll get the aquas out and see if we can get those Samakis a final bend for the day before we go and start making ABT Lockdown live. All right, mate. Tell us when we're ready to get in there.
Righto, if you want to go in there, I'll go up to this one.
I'm not casting too well there, but there you go. Right in the action. There's water pumping out the back of these boats, and Jamie's on straight away. That was worth the stop. Any of his mates following him?
Nah, not this time.
Not that one. But still, decent little fish and good little keeper in the tournament.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. And Jamie's on again. Look at him, I can see them all in that stuff that just got thrown over. I'm going to be a part of that. Oh, this one's got mine already. Look at them all coming up to the top there, eating the scuds. Oh. That's bigger.
It's a better one.
They are getting bigger. Look at them there eating old mate's leftovers. Oh. There's one eating the aqua leftovers. Smallest one in there, but this is why this spot was such a popular joint in the worlds. Yeah, the guys from all parts of the world would come over here and throw in an aqua, and there were plenty of room in here to get them involved. Let me go. Oh. Well, I sure do like the aqua, that's for sure. Oh, I just spat it out.
Yeah, same.
That was around my line.
That's where the aqua went.
So that's probably the quickest ever limit on the Gold Coast right there, mate.
Yeah.
There's about 5 legals in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
We're going to keep on fishing now, but we're going to go back to the studio now on ABT Lockdown Live and maybe finish up this show.
If you're Will Flack, you don't just go fishing. You get up at 4 a.m., get your motor going. Get this motor going. Sun's up, shades up. Pick it, tie it, stretch it, haul it. Dang it. Let's try this school. Nope. Best restaurant ever. You are going to be back by 3. 3-ish? 6-ish. Bonefish, 2 o'clock. Strip, strip, strip. Hit it, kiss it. That's it. Okay, your turn. Now it's a fishing trip. For those who need water to breathe. Costa sunglasses.
Big thanks to Jamie McKeown there for coming out for a fish with us this morning. Well, let me tell you, it didn't take much of an arm twist to get him into his brand new Dodge Ram, cruising down the highway, one arm out the window, just thinking that life is pretty bloody good. And he's an absolute gun on the Gold Coast. Those big winter fish are turning up now. So if you're in Queensland and you're on this side of the border, hey, you can go fishing for them and maybe use some of those techniques that he helped explain right there. Absolute legend, and when you've got both of the Open trophies, no one can argue that at all. We're nearly done for tonight now. We've given away plenty of prizes. We've had a great day on the water today fishing. We did get up pretty early. It's been a long night for us. We apologise for all of those early audio issues. We found the way through to the bottom after a couple of segments, and you know, when we make a deck of cards like this, hey, sometimes things go wrong. But our twin streaming was very successful tonight. We've got 40 or 50 people on Facebook there, well over 100 on YouTube there. So a great audience tonight. Remember, it's the last weekly show. We're not going to come to you next Friday. It'll be the Friday after. So we're just ramping up a little bit in some of the other work we're doing. This show does take quite a lot of time to produce all of the segments. Big shout out to Nicole. And on the comments, make sure you give her a big shout out. She's waving behind the scenes there. I threatened to turn the camera around. She didn't want that. But she helps put together this whole back end stuff. And she has got some kick-ass ideas for how we do live coverage at tournaments moving forward. You know, we're always moving forward and trying new and exciting things. We're all used to the scoreboards now, embedded into the live stream. We can see how much they need to win and stuff like that. Well, by learning how to do this technology with the stuff in the studio, we have got some great ideas of how we're going to cover some future events. So just like you guys, we are itching to get into the field and to bring some of this coverage to you so that whether you make an event, that's great. Whether you can't make an event, we can bring you all of the action. We call this one the room clearer at the end. Normally it's one of my old dirty highlights videos, but tonight it's the winners interview for when we just started doing winners interviews. It was in 2017 at Foster. It's where we would all be this weekend. It's Cromo as a winner and it's Stewie Walker as the non-boater winner there. Now, we've actually tried to get Stewie Walker on the show. His agent makes it very hard. He's a very hard man to get on there, but we are going to get onto him here eventually. But in lieu of that, let's hear from Cromo and Stewie.
Mate, I'm Mark Crompton. I'm from Wilton, New South Wales, and I just won the Foster ABT, the Foster Atomic ABT, and yeah, I'm pretty stoked. I think I've been here, I think it's probably my 4th trip here. preparation was, every other time I've been here, I've come to try and fish the racks and pretty much failed miserably. And this time I just went, nah, I'm just going to give it a really solid crack. Bought a couple of rods to do it with, and yeah, just set my sights on the racks, and that's what become a lucky thing for me, I guess. Okay, so my pre-fish started off running aground. I found the bar down the side over there, and you know, as you do, but you know, it is what it is. And then I just sort of peppered around racks because the water was so dirty. It was very hard for me to see them, so I just used my memory to pick out the ones that I'd seen before, and just went to try and suss out if there were fish on them. A lot of them, not really, because it was the morning, which is what a lot of people found. It was the afternoon thing. So then I went out to the flats, sussed out the flats, had a look out there, got a couple of little fish, and managed to, you know, sort of leave a few spots out there in the memory banks, and then come back into the racks later in the day on pre-fish, and yeah, managed to find a couple that was. It gave me a good game plan. Saw some of the cleaner water, could see some of the racks, the trays, and the trays were the thing that really I was really targeting. So okay, so I used deep Cranka crabs were the number one lure that I found. Pretty much about 75 to 80% of my fish came on. Didn't matter colour. I was using olive, I was using cockle, I was using brown. I had a stack of them. I went through about 15 or 16 yesterday. Today, not so many. Mainly because, not for fish doing me, but on the tops of the trays, I was sort of trying to get them to land on the top of the tray, drag it off before it snagged up, and then float back in under. And if I wasn't quick enough on the tray, see you later, bust it off, get another one on. So yeah, look, the crankers were definitely 100% what did it this weekend. So the rods I used were swamp donkeys in the Generation Black Daiwa rods. They're a 6'4". They're a heavy stick. They get K guides, so they cast well. Nice open guides. New butts in them this year, Fuji butts, and they were a broomstick rod that I was just using to leave a fish out. I left no drag. I was running 2500 Freeham's reels, and I was literally just locking them shut, and every time I got a bite I would just drag it. I wouldn't even let it turn, nothing, just drag them out. So the line I had was 8-pound J-braid and a 10-pound FC rock. So the grand final this year is at St George's Basin. Grew up fishing Sussex Inlet when I was a kid, and really excited to have it down there. It's going to be, I know the place reasonably well. The basin, Sussex, I know it back to front. But you know, the basin is it can really lead you into a false sense of well-being down there sometimes. But I think it'll be interesting. I think the last couple of days of it, I think it'll shut down. To be brutally honest, if you don't know that place well enough, I think you're going to have a bit of a tough time possibly. But it will turn it on. I have no doubt. That time of year it will turn it on. So.
My name's Stuart Walker. I live just out of Canberra in a place called Jerrabomberra, and I've just won my second ABT event for this year. Day one this weekend was with Mark Brown from Churros out on the flats. I had a pretty good day, probably caught 15 legals for the day, all on Z-Man grubs, 1/16 jig head. Yeah, that was pretty good. Today was a lot tougher, fished with Tim Vickers, and the pair of us only got our 4 fish today, but they weren't too bad fish. They were quite nice size. So it was enough to keep the wolves from the door. Okay, I purchased new Daiwa Silver Wolf rod and reels, two combos this year. So I was using one of those with got the new Evo braid, the Daiwa Evo braid on that. I was fishing 4-pound Sunline Brim Special leader. And the jig head was a 1/16 headlock and a Z-Man grub in motor oil colour. I don't think they make another colour. It's all I use. It just seems to work so well. I don't know how, but I've only ever fished St George's Basin twice, and mixed results. They weren't. One was a comp and one was a social fish. Obviously, I found the fish on the social fish and not in the comp. Being early December, it should be a really good time for fishing for brim down there. So I don't know, it'd be I can't wait to get down there and see who I'm going to draw for a couple of days, and we'll work out a plan from there. Yeah, I do have a few people, if that's okay. Matt and the boys that work the weekends at Otto's Tackle World in Fishwick. Kris from Manning River Marine for helping with all my gear. My partner Mel for letting me get away and getting my fishing fix sorted. Atomic for sponsoring this event, but the big thanks go out to the ABT crew again for another fantastic tournament.
Let me tell you, before we leave tonight, on our last of our weekly shows, about a drinking game we have at ABT. Involves Stewie Walker. Involves, Nicole, you need to come up and do this. It involves Z-Man Grubs. Every time Stewie Walker wins a tournament, got to have a drink. Every time someone says Z-Man Grubs motor oil, got to have a drink. Every time Jimmy said it's better than a donut, got to have a drink. At the end of a weigh-in, if you're not loaded and rolling home, there's definitely something wrong. We're going to celebrate the finish of our weekly shows because we get to have sort of an easy week next week, but we're going to be back with you in a fortnight for whenever, until the borders open. Then when we're back on the tournament trail, we're going to go back to monthly and maybe talk to some of the guys that win a few tournaments as we get back to normal after COVID. Nicole Smith, come over here. Give us a cheers. Come on. You've got to give us a cheers because Nicole invented the drinking game that involves Stewie Walker and Z-Man Grubs. So have a drink tonight, guys. Be safe. I'm going to catch you in 2 weeks' time on ABT Lockdown Live.